The day began with a storm no one could see, the kind that brews quietly inside a child who has been broken too many times. In the heart of a gleaming skyscraper, surrounded by polished marble floors and suits that smelled of wealth, a barefoot girl stood trembling. Her clothes were torn, her skin smudged with dust, and her eyes carried the weight of battles no child should ever fight. She looked painfully out of place, as though she had been dropped from another world into this glass palace of power. Moments earlier, the billionaire and his boardroom full of executives had been laughing, convinced the little girl's presence was nothing but a joke. But they had no idea that the next few minutes would shatter everything they thought they knew about strength, courage, and destiny. If you believe kindness and second chances can change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support truly keeps these stories alive. The billionaire, a man known globally for his power, wealth, and untouchable reputation, stood with his arms crossed, watching the girl with an amused expression. Behind him was the enormous steel safe, rumored to contain over $100 million in cash, gold, and confidential documents. Everyone in the room saw the girl as nothing more than a strange interruption to their important meeting. But only she knew the real reason she had climbed 37 floors on bruised feet, walked through security unnoticed, and entered this intimidating boardroom with nothing but silent determination in her heart. She wasn't here for fame. She wasn't here for money. She wasn't here because she wanted the billionaire to look at her with admiration. She was here because she had no choice. Life had forced her to grow strong in ways that left permanent marks. Losing her mother at a young age, living in shelters, moving between strangers' living rooms, and watching her little brother go to sleep hungry night after night had stripped her childhood away. Still, she held on to hope the way some children hold on to toys. Her brother was everything to her, the last piece of love she had left in a world that had taken too much. And now the only thing that could save him was inside that safe, not the money itself, but a medical charity fund controlled by the billionaire. She had heard rumors that he sometimes granted emergency help to children in desperate circumstances. Rumors that people claimed were lies, because billionaires didn't care about people like her. But desperation makes even the smallest spark look like a miracle, and she chose to chase that spark. The men in suits chuckled as the billionaire leaned down and, with a smirk, said something he thought was harmless. He joked, "Open that safe, and the $100 million inside will be yours." He expected laughter. He expected her confusion, maybe tears. What he didn't expect was the way she lifted her head, her golden hair falling over her tired eyes, revealing a look of fierce conviction that silenced the entire room. Something in that gaze unsettled him, not because she was bold, but because she was brave in a way he had never seen. The girl walked forward slowly, her bare feet tapping softly on the cold marble. Her heart pounded, and she felt the eyes of adults judging every step. She had never been inside a building this beautiful. The view behind the large windows showed the entire city, glowing and unreachable. Gold accents, leather chairs, and polished wood filled the room, but she didn't care about any of it. All she cared about was the safe. Not to open it, not to steal anything, but to use the moment to tell the truth that had been burying her alive. She placed her small hand against the cold steel door and closed her eyes for a second, as though gathering every ounce of courage she had left. When she opened them, she didn't look at the billionaire with fear, she looked at him with sincerity. She began to explain how her brother had been sick for months, how the shelters couldn't help, how she had run out of options. She spoke quietly at first, her voice trembling, but the more she shared, the more the room changed. The laughter faded. The smirks vanished. Men who moments ago mocked her now stared in disbelief. She explained that she didn't want the money. She didn't want fame. She didn't want anything except a chance to save her brother. Her words carried such raw honesty that even the billionaire felt his chest tighten. He had always seen the world from a distance, protected by wealth and comfort, but her story pierced through everything he thought was secure. Without meaning to, he found himself remembering his younger self, a boy who once slept on dusty floors and dreamed of a better life. Somewhere along the path of success, he had buried that boy deep inside, but now this fragile child was digging him out. A heavy silence filled the room. For the first time, the executives didn't know where to look. The billionaire slowly walked toward her, his footsteps echoing loudly. She lowered her head, thinking he might yell or call security. Instead, he gently lifted her chin with his hand. He saw tears forming but also a fire that refused to die. He realized that she had climbed all the way to him because the world had given her no other door to knock on. And that realization hit him harder than any business failure ever had. Without another word, he turned to the safe. The room watched in shock as he entered the long code, unlocking the massive steel door. But instead of grabbing stacks of cash, he pulled out a single folder, the emergency fund documents she had come for. He held it for a moment, staring at it as if seeing his past, her suffering, and the weight of responsibility all at once. Then he handed it to her with a gentleness that seemed impossible for a man known for being untouchable. Her hands shook as she took it, and before she could speak, he told her that her brother would receive full treatment immediately. The room fell silent again, but this time out of respect. The executives who had laughed now lowered their heads in embarrassment, realizing how easily cruelty can slip into the heart when comfort blinds compassion. The billionaire then walked to the girl, wrapped his elegant coat around her shoulders, and gently placed his hand on her back as he escorted her out of the boardroom. It was the first time in many years he had acted purely from the heart, not for business, not for image, but for humanity. Outside the building, she stood under the bright sky, clutching the folder against her chest. For the first time in a long time, she felt the weight lift, just a little. She didn't have all the answers. She didn't know if life would suddenly become easy. But she knew one thing: she had saved her brother. Not because she was strong, not because she was lucky, but because she refused to give up. And sometimes, that is what changes the world. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement truly helps bring more meaningful stories to life. Before you go, comment below. Kindness can change everything.